media ownership. On the face of it, the topic seems to be very dry and boring. However, you'll soon come to realise that the issue of media ownership extends beyond who simply owns a single media organisation. Also, alongside the importance of media ownership, the topic will be way less dull if a cool kid in a bucket hat explains it. Australia stands out as one of the most concentrated media markets in the world. No other company highlights this problem better than News Corporation. News Corp is owned by multi-millionaire media monolith Rupert Murdoch, aka Big Daddy Murdoch. In Australia, News Corp owns 59% of the metropolitan and national print media market by readership. Also, News Corp and two other companies control almost 90% of the metropolitan radio licenses in Australia. Furthermore, News Corp collects 40% of Australian free-to-air television subscription revenue. To read more about News Corp's hold in the Australian media, check out Who Controls Our Media by Benedetta Bravini and Michael Ward. News Corp's control of the media also extends outside of Australia. News Corp holds 7.9% of the world's newspaper market, 3.1% of the world's broadcast television market, 7.2% of the multi-channel platforms, and 10.6% of the global film market. To learn more about News Corp's global media interests, check out Who Owns the World's Media by Eli Nome. All of these percentages lead to one conclusion. Big Daddy Murdoch and News Corp own a lot of the print, radio and TV media market. But you may be wondering what the big deal is. Well, this all comes back to the term ideology. An ideology is described as a body of ideas articulated by a group of people, a set of material practices, or the way we imagine the world to be. An ideology is not in itself a negative thing. However, we must be very careful where ideology is present within our information. The media, News Corp included, often chooses to be selective about facts, intentionally exclude them or make up their own, especially where it suits an ideological agenda. Let's look at some real-world examples. This issue of the Daily Telegraph, a publication owned by News Corp, features the headline Dan Made Disaster. This was in reference to the handling of the COVID outbreak by Victorian Labor Party leader Dan Andrews. Various emotionally worded criticisms are listed below the title, showing the merging of fact and opinion. This is contrasted to this issue of the Sunday Telegraph, also owned by News Corp, that is titled For Your Own Good. This is in reference to the handling of the COVID outbreak in the Northern Beaches by New South Wales Liberal Party Premier Gladys Berejiklian. Below, the restrictions are listed in a factual manner, without any emotion or critical language. And it's not just a coincidence that News Corp publications consistently push a single political agenda. Let me put it to you this way: if Monkey paid journalists to write, Monkey can tell journalists what to write. Big Daddy Murdoch hires editors who are already politically aligned with him. After this, within News Corp, there is a secretive corporate culture where Murdoch holds private political seminars for editors that clarify the ideology and stance they will take on current issues. To learn more about Murdoch's ideological control of News Corp, check out Rupert Murdoch, An Investigation of Political Power by David McKnight. News Corp's conservative ideology has a profound negative impact on the public sphere. This is because, in order for the public sphere to function effectively, its participants need to have equal access to quality, unspun information and facts. Given the sheer amount of publications Murdoch owns, the ideology he wants to push completely dominates the debate. As a result of this agenda being pushed, falsehoods are produced. Through statistical analysis, Koch, Mikowska and others identify how difficult it often is to detect misinformation in the media. The article also highlights the negative impacts the mass media's propaganda has on the public sphere. Notably, that underestimating the public's exposure to falsehoods shapes consumer perception about what they should believe. At the end of the day, one thing is clear: something needs to be done about media ownership concentration as a whole. The Senate has made recommendations about the future of public interest journalism and media diversity that can be applied globally. One solution is to increase government funding for public broadcasters, as they are more likely to be impartial, as they are not subject to the same editorial filters and commercial interests as media corporations. Another proposal is to increase funding for public interest journalism, subsidising other smaller media organisations to avoid a media monopoly. Finally, enforcing the 2 out of 3 rule that used to be in place in Australia. This rule would ensure that media giants could not have their fingers in so many media pies. Through these policy responses, we can take a little step toward a better media landscape that is not as concentrated as it is today.